Okay, it's working now. Oh my god. I can't. How long was I muted for? Probably for the entire video. So 30 minutes. I was muted for 30 minutes. I'm going to have to trim that down. Right. For some reason, my mic wasn't on this whole time. So you're just listening to nice background music video, which I'm gonna put back on. So you've just been listening to music while I was rambling to myself, and which I already am, but even more to myself for literally nothing. Oh my god. Okay. I hate this. Alright, quick summary. I've been talking for too long for me to go back and redo those. Okay. Ascendance Dragon. Very, very interesting. Has multiple elements to it, and I like how versatile it is. It can do elemental damage. It can let you fly, which the whole rant about how I don't like flying in D&D because of how TTRPG works, but not because of D&D itself. But I think in video games it'll be a lot better. That's it. This music's perfect because I'm kind of pissed at right now. And okay, then there's a aura ability which lets you use things. I mentioned I mentioned earlier about how monks, they have a weird role, because I don't know how because they have a low AC, but they also have keys which are very limited. But then you have this stunning strike ability, which is very powerful. So everything then have to compare to the amount of key. Everything that uses key will have to be compared to the stunning strike. Okay, so then I was comparing how the Ascendance Dragon has abilities that actually let you use the keys. Let's give you a situation where you would prefer to use keys and other methods other than stunning strike, and such as later on giving you stronger breath power, letting you do AoE damage. Okay, and that's why, because of versatility in combat, I give it relatively high, but like maybe low to medium. Astral Self was a JoJo thing. It was a JoJo thing. You can use, you can focus straightly on wisdom instead of strength or dexterity, and then oh my god, and then you can summon up your I think I was originally going to put it higher because of the solo dexterity, but then I decided to put it lower because after that the ability wasn't super interesting. You have this visage thing you can also summon as part of summoning your arms later on at 6th level with one key, which lets you see in the darkness. It's one of the only two ways you can see non-magical darkness. And then you get ability like advantage on insight, intimidation. You can also speak to creatures, weird things, and like either directly to one person or in a booming voice to a lot of person. Then at 11th level, you can then deflect, like deflecting arrows, but you can deflect energy instead, but you can't throw it back, obviously. Then you have the extra arms, which in one turn, you can do. One attack per turn. You can do basically a critical hit, and then at level 17 you can basically use 5 key points to summon all the stuff, get 2 more extra armor class, and then basically every time you use extra attack you can do 3 attacks instead of 2. I think this was fun, but it ultimately didn't provide anything outside of strictly being wisdom based that I feel puts it above the Ascendant Dragon. And then I was about to start talking about Drunken Master. Of course, there was Cobalt Soul there, but I started the whole thing about talking about how we're not doing the Critical Role subclasses, which I previously mentioned, but I was going to mention again, but you guys didn't hear it because I was muted. Oh my god. Okay, we're back to Drunken Master. God, I probably could have just cut the rest of the video and just left that in. Jesus. Okay. Drunken Master. Before I start, let me check my video to make sure I'm... Okay, I am definitely ranting. I can hear myself. Right. I said at the start of this stream, it might have been a short one because I'm kind of tired, but that fucking fury just kind of woke me up slightly. Right, kind of angry now. Let's talk about drunken masters. Drunken masters don't have to be drunk, but you can basically be a more of a like a dancer or jester. It's just something that has a weird, unpredictable movement. One of the key ability is a part of the Fury Blows, which is a thing where monks, when they use 1 key points, they can do 2 extra attacks as a bonus action. As part of that, they also get the disengage action, which and you get extra 10 feet, so you can really do the pure skirmish. Come in, bam, 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 leave. Bam, 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 leave. That kind of deal, basically. Okay, that's 3rd level. 6th level, you get Tipsy Sway. Basically, you can move in weird motions. You can either, when you go prone, you can stand up with 5 feet of motion instead of half your speed. Wow! So you can just lie down, jump up, lie down, jump up. You can redirect attack, which sounds really fun. It's basically something out of a Jackie Chan movie, where if a creature misses you with a melee, you can spend 1 key point to cause it to hit one of the creatures that you can see within 5 feet of you, other than the attacker, basically. So you can just, if they punch you, you can grab the punch and throw it to someone next to you. That's fun. At 11th level, you have Drunkard's Luck. You seem to always get lucky when you make an ability check, attack roll, or a saving throw. You have disadvantage, you can use 2 key points to cancel out the disadvantage. Cool. That's probably a situational, but also probably good way to use key points. Although the monk does have the quick rant I mentioned that the monk does have less key points than because they have key points equals to the level, but you recharge it at every short rest. I think it's fine, but they really need to tune some of the abilities better. This gives you another way of spending those key points, but really draining out your key points if you have to make multiple save at disadvantage. Anyway, 17th level, you basically, when you use Flurry of Blows, you can make 3 additional for a total of 5 Flurries of Blows, which at this point is a 1d10 attack, and you basically, provided each Flurry of Blows hits a different target. So if you don't just think of if you don't think about an arm attack as just punching, you can basically kick someone, headbutt this guy, hit this guy with your knee, hit this guy with someone's knee, etc. It's thematically really, really, really fun, and really the combat, honestly, the ability reflects it. But is it mechanically, where do we put it? I think the ability to let you walk in and leave punch really puts you in a very good role as a skirmisher. The prone thing is situational, but still useful. The redirect attack is also useful, but I guess it's a way for you to essentially hit someone next to you as a reaction by just taking an action, by just taking an attack. And saving throw, that's probably not super situational. You probably make disadvantage saving throw, attack ability and saving throw, but the 2 key point really makes it quite difficult to use, especially with your limited amount. And finally, the intoxicating fury. You still need to attack anyone with 5 feet, so making 5 Furious Blow attack is a fun idea, but not always super realistic. So because a lot of this is quite situational, I'd say I will put it probably somewhere in the middle of B. I would say probably here. That sounds good. Alright, now we reach one of the subclass that has people always raising a bit of an eyebrow when it first came out, and now that it's in Baldur's Gate 3, make people very curious to see how Larian Studio redesigned this subclass. And everyone basically agrees, yeah, they need a redesign because the original subclass was fairly bad. And in my 30 minutes of lost media, I basically said the Ascension Dragon was kind of like an avatar. Like you can get away with the dragon gimmick and go with more of an avatar build, and it's almost like they were trying to replace it or let it shine over a different subclass, which is the 4-element subclass. So what does the 4-element subclass do? Basically lets you use your keys to cast spells, but then I previously mentioned you don't have a lot of keys. So what you basically have at this is a very long, so bear with me. So when you first learn this, you gain a discipline, elemental discipline, which allows you to cast spells as a key. The maximum key points you can spend for a spell changes as you increase in monk level, starting with 3 going all the way up to 6. So for example, a spell such as Burning Hands, you can cast. There's an ability called Sweeping Cinder Strike, which you can use to cast Burning Hands. So you can use 2 key points to cast Burning Hands as a spell. At 5th level, you can now increase it to the maximum key points, which is 3, by spending 3 key points to cast a spell at the 2nd level rather than the 1st. Okay, we're up to speed. Right, so some of the spells include 6 key points to cast Cone of Cold at level 17. That's the first one I saw. You can cast Thunder Wave with 2 key points. You can cast Gust of Wind with 2 key points. You can cast Wall of Stone with 6 key points. Now, you see the problem here is this all the damaging spells does require you to use up your key points, as well as these let you cast it basically normally. So what happens is you now become essentially a sorcerer or wizard with very, very limited amount of spells, and also you're kind of a monk. See, there's no real synergy between the two. You're kind of a little bit of a monk. You're kind of a monk, but not as good as other subclasses. But you're also a shitty magician spellcaster. And at 6th, 11th, and 17th level, the ability is to you gain one additional elemental discipline of your choice, and you can also replace one of the old ones with new ones. Great. So yeah, this subclass is, I think, poorly designed. They haven't really thought about how the monk and the spells would interact. There is some extra disciplines that let you fluff up your ability. For example, you can create compressed air with 2 key points with that kind of feels like that, not really a punch. You can do a water whip with 2 key points as it, like, to make a whip attack. But you only know one. You only know one. Okay, you automatically learn the elemental attunement, which is basically a prestidigitation. And then after that, you can choose one of these. You can do water whip, unbroken air, shape the flowing river, or whatever. You can cast gust of wind if you want as your one discipline. And you get 1 extra for every ability, up to maximum of 4. You see why this doesn't really... People coming in here expecting to be the avatar. They want to cast some fire, cast some water, cast some air, cast some earth. What they got is you can maybe cast one of them for a couple levels and then choose a different one later. Just, it's not well designed. I am putting in an F, but it's just weird where an F would go. Honestly, it might even be at the bottom. I think that's, at the moment, that's probably the poorest design one I've seen. I mean, I could be wrong. There might be something I'm missing. Let me know if you think there is, but that's just my opinion. Alright, next we have the Kensei. Kensei. Yeah, Kensei. Way of the Kensei is basically the weapon monk. Before every monk could kind of become a weapon monk. Basically, they can learn additional weapons that they can use outside of the standard martial monk weapons, such as like a stick. You can do simple martial weapons that isn't heavy or have the special property, such as longbow as well. And you have several abilities that help with your choices, such as agile parry. If you make an unarmed attack while you're holding as part of your action, and you're holding a Kensei weapon, you can use it to defend yourself if it's a melee weapon. So you get a +2 to your AC. Until the start of your next turn. +2 AC at the start of your next turn while the weapon is still in hand. There's also Kensei shot. You can, if you prefer attacking from range, you can use a bonus action or your turn to make a range attack with your Kensei weapon to make your Kensei weapon more deadly. So, any target you hit with a range attack takes an extra 1d4 damage. You also learn Calligrapher and Paint Supply, so there's that. 6th level, your Kensei weapons are now magical. Cool. And when you hit a target with a Kensei weapon, You can spend a key point to deal extra damage equals to your martial art die. So and you can do this only one per turn. So an extra, at this point an extra d6. Starts with d4, goes to d6. Eventually ends up with d7. At 11th level, you can sharpen the blade, which as a bonus action you can use 3 key points to grant 1 Kensei weapon you touch, a bonus to attack and damage when you attack with it. The bonus is equals the number of key points you spend. So you can spend 1 to get, you make your Kensei weapon basically a +1. Does this work on magic weapon as well? That is, or is it only on non-magical? Yeah, this weapon has no effect on magic weapon that already has a bonus. Okay, so you can turn a weapon basically from to a +1 all the way up to a +3 with 1 to 3 key point, which is quite cool. So and at 17th level, you if you miss with a monk weapon on your turn, you can funny how they don't use Kensei weapon here and specify monk weapon. If you miss your attack with a monk weapon on turn, you can re-roll it, and you can do this once per turn. That's pretty good as well, considering how much attack you make. You're bound to miss one or two. So overall, Kensei kind of get a slightly redundant when they've introduced the Tasha book of everything, where class now can learn dedicated weapon where they can choose a simple or martial weapon, but they still add extra flavor, allowing you to do multiple things with these new weapons. Where does that justify its position? I would say it's probably somewhere in the high B range. Its early ability is not the greatest. You have Agile Parry, which increase your ability to be a skirmisher. You have Kensei Shot, which allows you to be a range monk quite effectively. You have you can really suck up your key point by making dealing extra damage, creating essentially a +3 weapon with 3 key point is pretty good, and later on being able to, but still I would say I mean even high, I don't know if compared to Drunken Master, I'll say it's still higher than Drunken Master, but I would say perhaps not too much, perhaps even here. Alright, Way of the Long Death. So the Way of the Long Death is a very interesting one, because the whole thing is focused on kind of survival. So essentially at third level, they when someone within 5 feet of them goes to a 0 hit point, either by you or some other means, you gain temporary hit point equals to your wisdom modifier plus your monk level. Okay, that's pretty good. That increases your survival in the front line due to your probably less than most frontliners' health. 6th level, you have Hour of Reaping. You as an action, you can make each creature within 30 feet of you succeed on a wisdom save throw, or be frightened by you. A good way to do crowd control by a monk, which allows you and your teammate to focus on perhaps enemies and separating them into bits to fight. At 11th level, you have Master of Death, which allows you to, when you reduce to 0 hit point, you You can spend 1 key point to go to 1 hit point in there. This is really, really interesting because at level 20, essentially, you can get basically KO'd 20 times before you even have to worry about going out, which at the obviously optimal scenario. But yeah, that is quite a crazy ability. That makes you very survivable in the front lines. And at 17th level, your touch basically allows 1 creature within 5 feet of you to wait, hang on. You use your action to touch 1 creature within 5 feet of you, and spending 1 to 10 key points. They must make a Constitution saving throw and then take 2d10 necrotic damage per key point you spent. So from 2d10 to 20d10, which is pretty good for at 17th level. But 10 key point is a massive spend at that point. Yeah, so this is another interesting take on the monk, really focusing on the survival. But the actual damage part and combat wise, it's very surprisingly back heavy rather than front heavy. At the front, you gain some extra health and you can do a cool AoE frighten, although your wisdom save probably isn't as good as, say, a spellcaster that knows fear. But it's nonetheless a good way to actually have someone in the front line casting spells. But also the 11th level ability where you can keep going down is very, very cool. With all these in mind, I have to consider a few things. So firstly, it's mostly combat orientated, which doesn't help, which makes it very, very lackluster outside of combat. Second of all, its final ability lets you do really high damage, but it comes really late and it uses up so much of your resources to even deal a considerable amount of damage. I mean, it's not nothing. Like 5 key points can take you up to 10d10, and that's quite a lot. But that's already at 17th level. That's about a third of your key points, and you're probably using a lot of them for other stuff as well. Especially you want to save key points for your Master of Death. So this overall becomes kind of a key, like, slob. Like it just eats key points through and through later on. I mean, at the start it's still alright, but it's basically a slightly buffer monk, which is not exactly the their first weakness they have. It's certainly a weakness they have, but not. Overall, I have to say, I probably put it maybe like very high C, maybe something like there. I want to put it above the Arcana just because the Arcana Cleric can, at the same level where they can do 20d10, you can learn Wish as an Arcana Cleric. So next up, we have the Mercy Monk. Now this is probably one of the more highly rated one, which I'm not, to be fair, that familiar with, but I know it's a focus on healing and dealing damage at this with your key, which it's a interesting role. It's a healing monk, which gives you a more supportive role, but also, let's see, basically. So, Hand of Healing. You can spend 1 key point to restore a number of hit points equals to 1 martial roll die plus your wisdom modifier. When you use Flurry of Blows, you can replace one of the unarmed strikes without spending a key point for healing. So this is very good. So if you want to if you want to heal someone, but you also want to do some damage to the creature in front of you, you can just choose to do a flurry of blows and do both. This is coupled with Hand of Harm. So what you quite the opposite. When you hit a creature with an unarmed strike, you can spend 1 key point to deal necrotic damage equals to one roll of your martial art die plus wisdom modifier. But you can only use this once per turn. So this one you can't replace with a flurry of blow, which is fair. But what you can do is you can spend 2 key points and do flurry blows. First blow, you hit their target, you add an extra key point to do the necrotic damage, and then the second attack goes to your partner's throat. You chop him in the throat and he gets better. So that obviously is another niche for this monk. So 6th level they get Physician's Touch. So you can administer even greater cures with a touch and cure them. So when you use Hand of Healing, you can end blind, deafening, paralyzed, poisoned, or stunned on one of your or one disease on a creature. So you can chop them out of their stunned. You can punch them in the gut to make them stop being poisoned, or you can slap the disease away. Slap the gonorrhea away. That's what I say. Alternatively, when you use Hand of Harm on a creature, you can subject them to the poisoned ability. You put some manure on your finger and jam it down their throat. That gives them the norovirus. A very effective ability. I'm having a bit of fun with this. Anyway, at 11th level, you get Flurry of Healing and Harm. I thought that's a ham. Someone needs to make a ham monk subclass, or about hamming the Hand of Ham. Anyway, off topic. Basically, when you use Flurry of Blows, you can replace each of the unarmed strike with one use of your healing Hand of Healing without spending key points for the healing. So instead of just a 1, you can now chop 2 people in the throat with your Flurry of Blows. In addition, when you make an unarmed strike with the Flurry of Blows, you can use a Hand of Harm with that strike without spending key points. So basically turning the Hand of Harm into what the Hand of Healing originally does, where you don't have to use the key points and you can just use the Flurry of Blows. You can still only use this once per turn. And finally upgrade. Finally at 17th level, you have Hand of Ultimate Mercy. So as an action, you can touch a corpse that died within the last 24 hours, expend 5 key points. The creature then returns to life, regaining a number of hit points equals 4d10 plus your wisdom modifier. And it's revived without blinded, deafened, paralyzed, poisoned, and stunned. You can't do this once per long. You can only do this once per long. So if you have 2 friends that died, just use your 5 key points, slap them up, take an 8-hour rest, slap the other one up. This is it's such an interesting capstone, because this is probably the only pure martial class that has the physical ability to, well, firstly heal other people. Well, yeah, if you're not counting Paladin, which I don't, because they can cast spells, and also basically revive people from the dead, which is a very interesting capstone. So with those both considered, I would like to put this probably the top of the monk category. Probably, where would I put this? Probably quite high. I don't know. Probably somewhere around here. I would say, because of its versatility of dealing damage and healing. there. I'll put it above the others. Alright. That's definitely the best monk class we have seen so far. Next up, we have the Open Hand, the quintessential monk. This is the monk through and through. When you think of a monk, you think of people with bare hands slapping the crap out of you. So they know open hand technique, so when you hit a creature with flurry blows, you can either force them to make a dexterity saving throw or be knocked prone, so trip their feet or something, or you make a strength saving throw, or if they throw, you push them 15 feet away from you, just whooah, and you slap them away. And alternatively, it cannot make reaction until the end of your next turn. You know what this is. It's discombobulate, and then you run away. And at 6th level, you learn Wholeness of Body. You gain the ability to heal yourself as an action. You can regain hit points equal to 3 times of your monk level, and you must finish a long rest before you can use that ability feature again. So yes, so basically a minor version of the fighter ability, which lets you do a quick heal. Although this is quite a later level, the fighters get that at 1st level. Right, at 11th level, you gain Tranquility, which allows you to enter a special meditation. At the end of the long rest, you gain the effect of a Sanctuary spell until the start of your next long rest. Saving throw is your Wisdom modifier. So it's the Sanctuary it's a 1st level spell that essentially allows you to ward yourself against range attack spells. So if you're targeted by a attack or humble spell, range attack, within range against attacks. Sorry, my sleep deprived brain is reading things weird. Basically, if you're getting attacked within a 30 feet range, they must make a Wisdom saving throw, and if they fail, they must choose a new target or lose the attack or spell. Doesn't protect you from area effects, but you have evasion to that. Right, finally at 17th level, the most badass ability I've ever seen in the game. So badass that they're toning it down for the next one. It's called the Quivering Palm. So you use 3 key points to hit a creature to start a sort of vibration, which lasts a number of days equal to your monk level. The vibrations are harmless unless you use your action to end them. To do so, you must be on the same plane of existence. When you use this action, they must make a Constitution saving throw. If it fails, they are reduced to 0 hit points automatically. Doesn't matter if they have 1 trillion hit points, goes to 0. If they succeed, they take 10d10 necrotic damage still. 10d10 for 3 key points is very good, especially considering comparing to what we were mentioning before with the which one was it? Was it the Drunken Master? I think it was. So you can only have 1 creature under this effect. There's a very good assassination ability. You just give your body or your target a little pat on the back, put some good vibrations into their bollocks, and just chill out, for hoping they don't go to another plane for maybe like 2 weeks, and then just drop them while you're out of town. They got no alibi that you've done it. So overall, quintessential monk. It's honestly pretty powerful. I think it's not as powerful as some of the more top tier monk subclass, but it has very versatile abilities. Lets you do a pretty minor heal. Let people actively basically have a chance to not being able to hit you, and the ultimate, like, basically finishing maneuver. I think it probably deserves to go in really high B or A. I'll just put it at the top of B. Deserves the at the top of a tier. All right, so Shadow Monk is the only monk I've actually seen in action. So they are quite interesting. They are basically ninjas, or anything that's more of a stealth or stealthy subterfuge. Although technically, if you look it up, ninjas don't actually wear weird colorless clothing to sneak in the night. They actually dress as, they're close akin to spies, where they dress as regular civilians and just walk into the place in the daylight. Anyway, that's from what I've heard when I went to Japan. Anyway, rants over. So basically, this as the way of Shadows at second level let you use key points to cast spells, but don't worry, it's not a 4-element situation. You can cast 2 key points to cast Darkness, Dark Vision, Pass Without Trace, or Silence without material components. And you also know the Minor Illusion cantrip if you don't know. Much better, very thematic. You can sneak. You can create a dark cloud to sneak into it. You can make a whole group of people really stealthy, or you can silence a target before killing them, making sure they don't scream. Very thematic abilities, very good spells as well. Not a very high cost for this class. At 6th level, you get Shadow Step. Essentially, if you're in dim light or darkness, as a bonus action, you can teleport up to 60 feet until unoccupied space that's also in dim light or darkness. So there's one thing this does create is where you go to the DM, are we actually in dim light currently? Because we only have 1 chandelier over 3. Yeah, so dim light is not dim light, and the boundary of dim light and darkness is probably not as well defined as I would like it to be. But it is different conditions in the game. I just think it doesn't have a good intuition for real life. Anyways, you then have advantage on your first melee attack you make until before the end of your turn. So you teleport behind someone, nothing personnel, and then give them the 1/2. At 11th level, you get Cloak of Shadows, and when you're in dim light and darkness again, you can use the action to become invisible, and you remain invisible until you make an attack, cast a spell, area of bright light with no key points required whatsoever. That's amazing! Hurrah! Ability. This is in the player's handbook. It's great. Finally, at 17th level, you can you can whenever a creature within 5 feet of you is hit by an attack made by a creature other than you. So someone in your group hits someone, or someone in the enemy also hits another common enemy, I guess. You can use the reaction attack to make a melee attack against that creature. So someone's getting slapped, cheeky jab to the throat. Overall, some good ability. Where would I put this? I think Open Hand and Shadow really can go hand in hand. I think because they're both really good for different reasons. Open Hand is obviously more versatile when it comes to a combat orientated, and later becomes a much more deadly assassin than anything. But it also gives you ability of tranquility, gives you good control over a moment with your flurry of blows. Whereas the Shadow Monk gives you spells that you can versatilely use in and outside combat. Ability to teleport and turn invisible without needing key points. And yeah, and cheeky jab to the throat when someone's distracted. I would honestly put this above open hand. And the question is where? Honestly, I would put this probably Ascending Dragon. I mean, if not second, probably third best. I would say. I'd say second best. Honestly, the amount of spells is not expensive, and it becomes useful throughout the whole campaign, and it gets better and better. 17th level is a bit weak in terms of that, but this is probably the best. Yeah, this best one class if you want to infiltrate anything. Let's just put it there. Now, does 2-roll fuck up my screen? No, it's still looking okay. You just can't see the bottom row. That's fine. Alright, it's the last of the monk that we're going to review, the Sun Soul. Now, I think the inspiration here is meant to be Dragon Ball Z, but from what I've heard, the execution is rather poor. So, they channel the life energy in searing bolts of light. They basically when you get a new attack option. Basically, you can make a ranged spell attack of range of 30 feet, which you are proficient, and you can use dexterity. It's radiant, and it's a D4, and it changes with your martial art dice. So essentially, it's a far radiant punch. When you use attack action on your turn and uses this special attacks as part of it, you can spend 1 key point to make a special attack twice as a bonus action. What does that mean? So yeah, so you can punch someone from afar, spend a bonus key points to do another bonus. When you get extra attack feature, the special attack can be used for any of the attacks you made as part of the attack option. Right. Okay. At 6th level, you gain the ability to channel your ki into a wave. Immediately after you take an attack action, you can spend 2 points to cast Burning Hand spell as a bonus action. Here we go. We're retracing a little bit back to the four elements. Like I said before, key points is quite a valuable resources, and I don't think the amounts of burn AoE damage you can make with Burning Hands is really that worth it. It doesn't scale well as well. You can spend extra key points to cast Burning Hands as a higher level, but that gives you another D6 for extra key points. Just do Stomach Strike at that point. Anyway, the maximum number of key points that you can spend equals half your monk level. Alright. So, at 11th level, you got Searing Sunburst. You gain the ability to create an orb of light that erupts. And as an action, you can create the orb and hurl it to a point. Basically, yeah. So you gather up all the energy, chuck it, throw a grenade, and it explodes. And then each creature within 20 foot makes a Constitution saving throw or take 2d6 radiant damage. It doesn't need to make the save if it's behind totem cover or is opaque. Totem cover that is opaque, so it's mostly like what you see. You can increase the sphere's damage by spending key points. Each point you spend to a maximum of 3 increase it to up to 2d6. So 1 key point would give you using 1 key point will give you 4d6 all the way up to a 8d6. Basically a fireball with 3 key points, which is better than the Burning Hands, I would say, but still it's still pretty good. It's still okay. It's giving more range options to the monk, but I don't know if it's the most well executed. It just makes you hit from further away. Okay, Sun Shield. At level 17, you become wrapped in this luminous magical aura. You shine light in 30-foot, dim light in another 30-foot. And you can restore this light as bonus action. Fine. If a creature hits you in the melee while this light shines, you can use a reaction to deal radiant damage back to the target. The radiant damage is 5 plus your wisdom modifier, which is it's okay, but for the last level 17, and it's your final subclass ability, dealing what 10, 11, 10, 9 damage. 10 at most, ideally probably 7 or 8 radiant damage as your reaction when it could have been for something else is not great. Overall, interesting idea. Execution, not as bad as 4 elements, but definitely nothing that tops the leaderboard. I would put this at a D. And that is all the monk. Now, in my rant before, I was prior to I was saying I was tired. I was hoping to do all the monks today, which we've done, minus the 30 elements of lost data. I was considering maybe doing the paladins as well if I wasn't feeling tired. But unfortunately, I am getting really dozy, and reading is slowly becoming harder. So I am going to end it there for today. Hopefully next week we'll finish this list, and then I can make a video that's more focused on Baldur's Gate. This fucking recording better be recording, otherwise I'm going to be